Have you ever felt trapped, like your life was in the hands of other people or circumstances? Maybe waiting for the right moment, for someone's help, or even for a lucky break that changes everything. The truth, and it may be hard to swallow, is that no one is going to rescue you. And you know what's most fascinating about this? This is the best gift you could receive. Independence is true power. Not depending on anyone to build the life you want is freeing, but it also brings a huge responsibility. After all, as Brian Tracy always says, it all starts with you. What they have taught you so far may be limiting you. How many times have you heard that you need more resources, more time, more support? It's all a lie. What you really need is already within you. Courage to act, resilience to continue, and determination to make it happen. And believe me, you can start today, even if you're starting from scratch. In fact, starting from scratch is one of the greatest opportunities you can have. When you understand that the power is in your hands, excuses disappear, and what remains is an open path, waiting for you to take the first step. But here's where most people get stuck. How do you get started? How do you build momentum when the world seems to be against you? How to take control without feeling overwhelmed? The secret lies in small daily actions that, accumulated over time, create extraordinary results. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to start. In this content, we'll explore how to take responsibility for your life, use the resources you already have, and build a powerful legacy. And don't think that this will be just another motivational text. You will learn practical strategies, inspired by the teachings of Brian Tracy, that will help you transform intention into action. This is the time to shift your perspective, take control, and finally stop depending on others. Because, at the end of the day, the only person capable of changing your life is you. So, how about stop waiting and start acting now? After all, independence is the only true path to power. Starting from scratch may seem daunting, but it's actually like opening a new notebook. The blank page is your chance to rewrite your story with the ink of your choices. You know, what many people see as a burden can be the springboard for reinvention. When Brian Tracy talks about change and action, he reminds us that the past does not define who we are. Think about it. If you've lost everything, it's like you're getting a second chance, an opportunity to reset priorities and take control of your life. Because starting from scratch is not going backwards. It is aligning the compass towards something bigger. And here's the magic. The absence of resources often awakens a creative side you didn't even know existed. A practical example of this? Think about companies like Apple, which was born in the garage of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They didn't have money, but they had ideas and an absurd desire to make it happen. If you're at a starting point right now, think, what can I create with what I already have in my hands? It could be a small project, an idea, or even learning something new, like an online personal finance or skills development course. The interesting thing is that when starting from scratch, you discover who you really are. Without the distractions of old patterns or expectations, you can hear your true inner voice. And that voice is powerful, you know? Brian Tracy says the first step to success is believing that you can get there, even if everything seems uncertain today. It doesn't matter the size of the step, it matters that it is taken. It could be looking for an inspiring book like Financial Psychology by Morgan Housel, or even talking to someone who has already walked a path similar to the one you dream of. When everything seems lost, that's when you have the opportunity to build something truly genuine. How many incredible stories have you heard of people who rose from rock bottom to achieve a legacy? Writer J.K. Rowling, for example, was unemployed and living on government assistance before launching Harry Potter. The starting point doesn't matter. What matters is the strength you put into your dreams. The beauty of starting from scratch is that you are not tied to what has already been done. You are free to make mistakes, learn, and grow. Consider this. Instead of seeing a lack of resources as an obstacle, look at it as a clean slate. You might even think, but I don't have the time, money, or support. Do you know what you have? Energy, ideas, and disposition. That alone is a treasure. And you know what else? This process of starting over teaches you a valuable lesson: resilience. Every small step you take in the right direction strengthens your confidence. It may seem small, But sending out that resume, starting to meditate, or learning a new skill can change the course of your life. Think of a tree. It doesn't grow overnight, but over time, every drop of water and sunlight makes all the difference. And so, the cycle of starting from scratch reveals something much greater, an incredible freedom to create your own reality. And it is precisely in this freedom that the secret of growth lies. Because when we have nothing, we have everything to build. This leads us directly to the next point, where we talk about how this freedom can become the foundation for an extraordinary future. There is something almost poetic about the idea of starting from scratch. When you have nothing, you also have no strings attached. It's like being on a completely open road, without the weight of luggage you didn't even want to carry. This freedom is a gift, even if, at first glance, it comes disguised as difficulty. Brian Tracy often reinforces that success starts with focus, and without so many distractions around, you can channel your energy into what really matters. Think about it. What would it be like to be able to build your life without the negative influences that were already there, sucking up your time and your peace? The absence of excessive possessions and commitments allows you to dedicate yourself to developing something meaningful. When you don't have to fight to maintain something that doesn't satisfy you, there's room to create. An example? Imagine someone who lost a job they didn't like. At first, it seems like a tragedy, but when you look at it with different eyes, you see an opportunity. It's time to invest in something new, whether it's starting a small business, taking a specialization course, or simply exploring hobbies that can turn into a career. How about looking at platforms like Udemy or Coursera and getting started today? With every small advance you make, the feeling of growth is visible. It's like building a puzzle, where each piece fits together gives more meaning to the final image. Brian Tracy talks a lot about celebrating small victories, and that's essential. For example, if you manage to save a little money, even if it's just 50 Brazilian reals per month, that's already a reason to celebrate. Small accumulated steps create a powerful impact. And little by little, you realize that growth is constant. But here's a truth that may bother you. This freedom also brings responsibility. When there is nothing holding you back, all decisions fall on your shoulders. This can be scary, but it is also its greatest power. From now on, your every choice will be a seed planted in the fertile ground of your freedom. Want a practical example? Set daily goals. Simple but effective, like, today I'm going to learn something new, or today I'm going to take the first step in my project. The consistency of these actions is what creates lasting results. Another interesting thing about starting from scratch is that it allows you to reset your priorities. Without so many distractions, you can finally ask yourself, what do I really want? Maybe it's spending more time with your family, finding a job that really motivates you, or simply having more peace of mind. The point is, without the weight of old obligations, clarity emerges. And with it comes the chance to direct your energy towards what really matters. This growth process also strengthens your self-confidence. With each new learning or goal achieved, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Brian Tracy says that people underestimate what they can do in a year, but overestimate what they can do in a day. So relax. Take one step at a time, but keep the pace. And remember, growing is not about being perfect, but about constantly progressing. In the end, growing from scratch is like planting a seed in virgin soil. The land is free for you to shape, nurture, and make it flourish. It is a process that requires patience, but which yields valuable results. And this movement, although simple, begins to gain strength over time. That's where the next big growth secret comes in, the compound effect. Let's talk about that next. If there's one thing that separates successful people from those who just dream, it's the power of the compound effect. Small, seemingly insignificant daily actions create an impressive impact over time. Imagine a snowball at the top of a mountain. It starts small, but as it descends, it gains speed, size, and strength. This is exactly how the compound effect works in your life. Brian Tracy always emphasizes that great results don't come from a one-time burst of effort, but rather from daily consistency. Think about this in practice. Let's assume you decide to save 10 Brazilian reals per day. It seems little, doesn't it? But at the end of a year, this turns into 3,650 Brazilian reals, not counting interest if you invest that amount. Now imagine this same principle applied to your health. Swapping that soda for water every day may seem irrelevant today, but over the months, your energy increases, your weight improves, and your mood changes completely. Small daily choices are like planted seeds. Over time, they grow into leafy trees. The secret is in consistency. People's biggest mistake is underestimating the power of small habits and trying to compensate for it with sporadic big actions. It's like trying to run a marathon without training and hoping to win. The compound effect works exactly the opposite. Small daily steps overcome peaks of effort without continuity. Want an example? Think about reading. If you read just 10 pages a day, by the end of a year you will have read about 12 300-page books. This can completely transform your worldview. A good book to start with? Goals by Tracy, to understand how to direct your focus and persist. Another practical application of the compound effect is in the field of relationships. A loving message, a sincere compliment, or a gesture of support may seem small on a daily basis, but over time, they build stronger and more meaningful bonds. If you've ever heard someone say that relationships need work, this is what they're talking about. A practical tip: set aside 5 minutes a day to listen carefully to the important people in your life. It might be a quick conversation or a heartfelt check-in, but the impact of it over the months will be immense. Now, make no mistake, the compound effect also works against you if small actions are negative. Ignoring exercise, spending more than you earn, or procrastinating important tasks are examples of how bad habits, over time, can cause great damage. Therefore, the best strategy is to monitor your daily actions. Try using a journal or apps like Habitica or Notion to track your habits and ensure you're moving in the right direction. The bottom line of the compound effect is simple. Every decision counts. Even when you think no one is watching, or that a day lost doesn't make a difference. The truth is that the sum of these choices shapes your future. If you've ever seen someone achieve something incredible and thought, "How lucky?" remember that behind it were years of quiet work and consistency. There is no magic, just daily and cumulative action. And it is this routine of small choices, when added up over time, that transforms you into a stronger and more disciplined person. But there is something even more powerful than the compound effect itself. The conscious decision to take responsibility for your life and your choices. Because without accountability, even the best plan in the world won't work. That's what we'll talk about next. There's a moment in life when you look around and realize no one is going to save you. It sounds harsh, but it's actually one of the most freeing lessons you can learn. When you take full responsibility for your decisions, everything changes. Tracy often says that success begins the moment you stop blaming external circumstances and accept that you are in control. The truth is simple. Your choices, not your conditions, determine your destiny. Many people live waiting for a rescue. The dream job, the ideal partner, the unexpected inheritance. But do you know what the problem with that is? You place your life in the hands of factors that are completely out of your control. Imagine a person who blames their boss for their lack of career progress. As long as she remains in this state of complaining, she misses the opportunity to improve her skills or look for a better alternative. What could be done? Invest in self-development, such as learning something new on LinkedIn Learning, or even seeking mentors that inspire, such as the teachings of Tracy. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything, but rather accepting that you have the power to change what isn't working. It's like driving a car. You can't control the traffic, but you can decide which way to go. A practical example? If you are dissatisfied with your health, it may be time to review your diet or start walking 20 minutes a day. If your finances are in chaos, how about creating a simple budget or studying basic investments, such as Tesoro Dorito? Every decision made consciously is a step towards controlling your life. And you know what's most incredible? When you stop outsourcing responsibility, the feeling of power increases. It's as if you finally took the reins of the horse that was out of control. Tracy says that the greatest freedom we have is to choose our thoughts. So instead of focusing on what's not working, ask yourself, what can I do now to improve my situation? It might be something small like organizing your schedule or writing a list of priorities, but it creates a positive domino effect. Another essential point is the relationship between responsibility and trust. When you take charge, the people around you notice it. You become more trustworthy, more respected. Whether at work, in your family, or among friends, this posture transforms the way others see you. Have you noticed how inspiring leaders have this characteristic in common? They do not shy away from responsibility, even when faced with problems. And this is a skill that anyone can develop with practice and discipline. Now, of course, it's not always easy. There are moments when everything seems out of your reach. But even in these cases, you can choose how to react. Imagine an athlete who suffers an injury. He could give up or use the recovery time to strengthen other areas, such as mindset or strategic planning to come back better. The key is to recognize that although you don't control everything, there is always something that can be done. Taking responsibility is like hitting the reset button on your life. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your own destiny. And when that happens, you realize that the most valuable resources for success are already within you: your time, energy, and creativity. This is what we will explore in the next point. When talking about wealth, most people think of money, material goods, or properties. But in reality, the most valuable assets you own are not physical. Time, energy, creativity, relationships, mind, and integrity are the true pillars of a successful life. Tracy always highlights that by investing in these resources, you multiply your potential to achieve anything you want. The good news? These assets are available to everyone. Just learn to cultivate and use them strategically. Let's start with time. It is the only resource that, once spent, cannot be recovered. How have you been using yours? Imagine a person who spends hours on social media, scrolling aimlessly through their feed. Now think about someone who dedicates that same amount of time to learning a new skill or planning their week. The impact is completely different. Do you want to make your time work for you? Use tools like the Pomodoro method to stay focused, or apps like Google Calendar to manage your priorities. It's a small investment, but it brings big returns over time. Energy is another essential asset. Without it, even the best intentions fall apart. Taking care of your physical and mental health is the basis for keeping your energy high. Tracy suggests simple habits such as regular exercise, good nutrition, and adequate sleep. If this seems obvious, ask yourself, am I really doing this? Sometimes, the simple act of starting the day with a glass of water and 10 minutes of stretching can transform your mood. Small, consistent changes, remember? And what about creativity? This is an underrated but incredibly powerful asset. Creativity isn't just for artists. It is vital for solving problems, innovating at work, and even dealing with personal challenges. An example? When the pandemic began, many businesses had to quickly reinvent themselves. Restaurants began to deliver meals at home, and professionals began to offer services online. Creativity saves. And if you feel like you're stuck, try brainstorming or adopting techniques like mind mapping to organize ideas. Relationships are also a powerful asset. No one gets far alone, and the people around you can be the greatest source of support, learning, and opportunities. Tracy often says that you are the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. So choose wisely. Who is in your life inspires or limits you? Seek to build authentic connections, such as participating in groups or communities that share your interests. A practical tip: set aside time each week to message a friend or mentor. Small gestures strengthen bonds. Mind and integrity complete the list. Your mind is your greatest intellectual asset, and what you feed into it defines your actions. Books, podcasts, courses, they all build what you know and, most importantly, how you think. Integrity is what sustains everything. Without it, even the greatest success becomes empty. An example of this? Great leaders who earn respect and admiration are known for their unwavering ethics and values. It's the kind of trait that builds solid reputations and lasting relationships. And what happens when you bring all these assets together? You become an immensely rich person, not in the financial sense, but in the power to build the life you want. The most interesting thing is that by taking care of these resources, You gain something you might not have expected, energy to act. Because in the end, it is action that turns potential into reality. Let's talk more about this below. There is a magical moment that happens when you decide to act. Before that, the weight of inertia is immense. That feeling of laziness, doubt, or even fear of taking the next step. But the truth is that action, even if minimal, is what awakens energy within you. It's almost like starting an engine that was asleep. Tracy explains that energy comes from action, not the other way around. In other words, you don't have to wait for motivation to get started. You start and motivation appears. A simple example of this is the classic, "I'll start tomorrow." How many times have you postponed something waiting for the right moment? It turns out that the right moment never arrives. He is created. Imagine you want to start exercising. You don't have to wait for the perfect equipment or the best training program. Put on some sneakers, go for a 10-minute walk, and see what happens. The simple fact of starting breaks inertia and generates momentum. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be done. Another important point is that taking action creates clarity. Often, the fear of making mistakes paralyzes us. But when we take the initiative, we realize that the problems were not that big. It's like walking in a dark room. At first you hesitate, but as you take the first steps, your eyes adjust and the path becomes clearer. Want a practical example? If you're procrastinating on a project at work, break it down into smaller chunks. Start with 15 minutes of focusing on the first task, and you'll soon see how the rest starts to flow. Action also awakens reserves of mental energy that previously seemed non-existent. Have you ever noticed how, after starting something, you feel an extra gas to continue? This happens because the brain reacts positively to progress. Tracy talks about the power of proactivity, that is, taking initiatives without waiting for ideal circumstances. When you act, even in the face of uncertainty, your self-confidence increases, creating a positive cycle that feeds back on itself. The key to maintaining this energy is to avoid perfectionism. Many paralyze themselves waiting for the perfect plan, but as they say, done is better than perfect. Imagine an author who wants to write a book. If he waits for the perfect idea, he'll never start. But if he commits to writing 1 page a day, at the end of a year, he will have a complete manuscript. It is the power of constancy combined with action. And here's something you might never have thought of. Action doesn't have to be huge to be transformative. Sometimes all it takes is a small change to create a domino effect. For example, adjusting your morning routine can have a significant impact on the rest of your day. Start with something simple, like making your bed or writing down 3 daily goals. These small victories build momentum and give you the energy you need to face bigger challenges. When you act, you discover strengths that previously seemed non-existent. And this discovery is not only inspiring, she is transformative. The energy generated by your actions shapes the pace of your progress. But what you do with that energy is what really matters. It is what builds the legacy you will leave in the world. And this will be the theme of the next point. Building a legacy is much more than leaving something to be remembered. It's to create lasting impact that transcends time. A legacy is not just about big achievements, but about the small, everyday actions that define how you will be remembered. Tracy emphasizes that the future is shaped by the choices we make in the present. The big question is, what are you doing today that will resonate tomorrow? Because whether you realize it or not, every day you plant the seeds of your legacy. A classic example is Thomas Edison. He did not create the electric light bulb all at once. There were more than 1,000 failed attempts before success. Imagine if he had given up on attempt number 100. His legacy was built step by step with resilience and purpose. Likewise, you can start small. Think about how your daily actions reflect your values. For example, if you want to be remembered as someone who made a difference in the lives of others, start by helping one person at a time. It can be a simple gesture, such as offering advice, listening attentively, or teaching something useful. Another important point about legacy is that it does not need to be grand in the eyes of the world, but rather significant to those who matter. A parent who dedicates time and genuine attention to their children is building a powerful legacy within their family. In the same way, A professional who does his work with ethics and excellence inspires everyone around him. What you do, no matter the size, is like a stone thrown into a lake. The initial impact may be small, but the ripples spread immeasurably. Legacy is also directly linked to purpose. Brian Tracy suggests you ask yourself, what do I want people to say about me when I'm no longer here? This reflection helps you align your actions with your vision of the future. For example, if you want to be remembered as an innovative entrepreneur, start by investing in constant learning and personal development. Search for books like Companies Built to Win by Jim Collins or podcasts by great entrepreneurs. The idea is clear. Every step you take towards your purpose is a piece of the puzzle of your legacy. And if you think it's too late to start, think about examples like Ray Kroc, who turned McDonald's into a global empire after the age of 50. It doesn't matter your age or current situation. The perfect time to start is now. Procrastination is the biggest enemy of a legacy because it leaves your dreams on the someday shelf. But action, even if imperfect, is what turns ideas into achievements and achievements into impact. Building a legacy also requires consistency and patience. This is not a great, isolated achievement, but a set of actions that over time create something significant. If you have a bigger goal, like starting a social project, writing a book, or teaching something you've mastered, commit to taking small daily steps towards it. And remember, your legacy will not just be defined by your results, but by how you live and inspire others along the way. In the end, the legacy you build today will be the foundation for generations to come. And perhaps the greatest learning is to understand that life is too short to wait. It is in the now that the future is shaped, because someday never comes. And that's why independence and the power to make things happen without depending on others become so essential. Now that you have all these strategies in hand, the question is, what are you going to do with them? Will you keep waiting for something magical to happen, or will you finally take control of your life? Because in the end, it all depends on one decision, yours. You have the power to start from scratch, build a legacy, and transform small daily actions into big results. So why delay? The tomorrow you dream of begins with the step you take today. Think about it. What would your life be like if you took full responsibility for every choice you make? What if, instead of blaming circumstances or the people around you, you decided to create the ideal conditions for your success? The truth is that no one will knock on your door with a ready-made solution. But that's a good thing because it means you have the power and the freedom to create the future you want. Now, I want you to reflect. What is stopping you from taking action? Could it be your doubts, fears, or that old story that it's not the right time? Leave all that aside and start with what you have. Remember, the legacy you build starts with one small decision today. It could be a habit, a conversation, or even something as simple as writing down your goals. It doesn't matter as long as you start. And here's a challenge. Choose an action, any one, and put it into practice today. Want to improve your health? Go out for a walk. Want to learn something new? Search for an online course. Want to transform your finances? Establish a budget. Don't wait for the perfect moment because it never comes. The secret is to start now, even if it seems small. Finally, if this content inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and follow everything we have to teach you about independence, growth, and personal fulfillment. Here, you will find the tools you need to turn dreams into reality. So, how about taking control once and for all and joining those who are making a difference? The choice is yours. Will you start today or leave it for someday?